I'm standing at the edge of the dance floor, a half-finished drink in my hand, watching my wife sway gently to a slow, haunting melody. The dim lights cast long shadows across her face, enhancing the soft smile that plays on her lips. She looks beautiful, ethereal almost, but not alone. There's a man with her, a stranger whose hands are too familiar, too comfortable as they slide down her back. My heart pounds against my rib cage, each thud echoing my escalating shock. The air in the room feels thicker, heavier, as if the gravity of what I'm witnessing weighs down upon me alone. My grip tightens around my glass, the sharp edge biting into my palm, a physical anchor to this surreal moment. He leans in, whispering something that makes her laugh. A sound that's usually music to my ears, now a discordant clang. And then, my breath catches, his hand slips lower to brush her butt, and she doesn't push him away. Instead, she moves closer into his embrace. What the hell? The shout shatters the mellow sounds around us, and all eyes dart towards me, including theirs, wide, surprised, guilty. The music stumbles into a halt, a record scratching painfully in the sudden silence. Before I know it, I'm moving, my feet carrying me across the room with a mind of their own. My vision tunnels. All I see is him, his hand on her, and the world tilts a bit as I reach them. The slap of my hand against his face sounds like thunder, a sharp crack that marks the storm breaking. He stumbles back, hand flying to his cheek, eyes wide, not just in pain, but in confusion. Who the? She's my wife. I throw the words at him like they're weapons, sharp and designed to wound. My wife Sarah stares at me, her expression a mix of horror and something else, something like defiance. Jess, I can explain, she begins, but her words fade into the buzz of adrenaline flooding my ears. Around us, murmurs swell like a rising tide. I can feel the weight of every gaze, the silent judgment, the whispered speculations, but none of that matters. All I can focus on is the look in her eyes, the unknown depths I suddenly see there. What's going on, Sarah? My voice breaks, rough with emotion and the bitter taste of betrayal. She reaches for me, her hand trembling. It's not what you think, Jess. Please, let's talk about this at home. Her voice is soft, pleading, but beneath it, there's a firmness, a resolve that she's never had to use with me before. I look from her to the stranger, who's now being comforted by some bystanders, rubbing his reddening cheek, looking more bewildered than angry. I know we need to leave, to get out of this room filled with prying eyes and hushed whispers. I nod stiffly, and she slips her hand into mine, her touch tentative. As we walk out, her hand in mine feels different, like a promise of answers I'm not sure I want to hear. The car ride home is suffocating, filled with the thick silence of unsaid words hanging between us. Every now and then, Sarah shifts in her seat, opening her mouth as if to speak, but then closes it again, settling back into the heavy quiet. I keep my eyes on the road, hands gripping the steering wheel, the tension winding up inside me like a spring. We finally pull into the driveway of our small, cozy house, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside me. The engine dies with a final shudder, and we sit in the darkness, neither of us eager to move. Finally, Sarah turns to me, her face pale in the moonlight. Jess, I'm sorry you had to see that. But it's not what you think, she starts, her voice shaky. I don't know what to think, Sarah. Who is he? Why didn't you push him away? My voice is louder than I intend, and it cracks with the strain of held-back emotions. She sighs, a deep, sorrowful sound that seems to age her. His name is Mark. He was a friend from college. We ran into each other a few weeks ago. It was just a dance, Jess. I didn't mean for it to go that far. A few weeks, and you didn't think to mention him? I unbuckle my seatbelt, feeling caged, needing space. We barely talked at first. I thought it was nothing to worry about, she pleads, reaching for my hand, but I pull away. I step out of the car, the cool night air a small relief against the flush of my anger. Sarah follows, closing the distance with a few quick steps. Jess, please, we need to talk about this. I face her, the porch light casting shadows across her worried expression. We are talking, Sarah, but you need to tell me everything. Before she can reply, headlights sweep across our lawn, and a car pulls up beside ours. A tall figure steps out, Mark. My heart sinks further, my hands balling into fists at my sides. What is he doing here? I demand, my voice cold hard. Sarah looks as surprised as I am, her eyes widening. I didn't invite him, Jess, I swear. Mark approaches, his expression contrite. I just wanted to apologize to both of you. I didn't realize. Save it, I snap, cutting him off. You've done enough. He stops, holding his hands up in a gesture of peace. Look, I think there's been a big misunderstanding. Can we just talk about this? The door behind us opens, and our neighbor Tom pokes his head out. Everything all right here? He calls, concerned. Yes, Tom, thanks. We're just sorting some things out, I answer, forcing a calm I feel. Sarah steps forward. Jess, maybe he's right. Maybe we should talk. All of us. Reluctantly, I nod, and we all head inside. The living room feels too small with the three of us. Mark sits on one side, Sarah and I on the other, an ocean of tension between us. Start talking, I say, bracing myself for the truths about to unfold. Mark shifts uncomfortably in his seat, his eyes darting between Sarah and me before settling on the coffee table. His discomfort is palpable, adding a layer of tension to the already charged atmosphere. Look, I know what you saw looked bad. Mark begins, his voice steady despite the clear nervousness. But it's not what you think. Sarah and I, we've been working on a project together for the last couple of weeks. A project? I interject sharply, my skepticism evident. And that involves dancing intimately? It was a stupid mistake, Sarah jumps in, her tone pleading for understanding. The project has been stressful and we had a moment of poor judgment. I stare at her, the woman I thought I knew inside and out, now a puzzle with missing pieces. What kind of project has you meeting in secret and not telling me about it? Sarah glances at Mark, who nods slightly as if giving her the go-ahead to explain. She takes a deep breath. It's a startup idea we've been developing. It could be big, Jess, but we needed to make sure it was viable before telling anyone. I lean back, processing her words. And you couldn't tell me? We wanted to, but we had to keep it under wraps until we were sure it would work, Mark adds. The dance was a celebration. We'd just secured our first investor. It meant we were really onto something. I look between them, the anger simmering down as I begin to see the whole picture. But it doesn't sit right. So why show up tonight, Mark, if you knew how it looked? I didn't want my mistake to ruin what Sarah and I have built. Not just the project, but her marriage too. Mark says earnestly, I owe you both an apology. The room falls silent as his words hang in the air. I can see the sincerity in his posture, the regret painted clearly across his face. It's a lot to take in. Sarah reaches for my hand again, her touch tentative. Jess, I should have been upfront with you from the start. I'm sorry. I let out a slow breath, the weight of the night beginning to crush me. I just need some time to think. We can leave the project, Jess, if that's what you want, Sarah offers, her voice breaking with the gravity of her suggestion. I shake my head slowly. No. I don't want you to give up on your dreams because of this, but I do need honesty from both of you from now on. They both nod, relief momentarily lightening the room. I stand up, needing to put some distance between myself and the situation to think clearly. Let's talk more tomorrow, I suggest. For now, I think it's best if we all get some rest. Mark rises, his apology lingering as he heads for the door. Sarah stays seated, watching me with eyes full of remorse and hope. As the door closes behind Mark, the silence returns, stretching out before us like the road to healing. Tomorrow, the conversation would continue, but tonight, I needed solitude to sift through the remnants of trust and betrayal. The next morning, I wake up to the sun peeking through the curtains, a stark contrast to the dark turmoil of last night. Sarah is already up, I can hear her in the kitchen, the clinking of dishes a tentative peace offering. I dress slowly, my thoughts a tangled mess, before joining her. Good morning, she says quietly, her eyes cautious but hopeful. Morning, I reply, and it's strange how a single word can feel so heavy. We sit at the table, coffee steaming between us, an unspoken agreement that it's time to talk. I've been thinking, I start, but she cuts me off. Jess, before you say anything, there's something you need to know about the project. Her voice is firm, more confident than last night, and she slides a folder across the table to me. Curious, I open it. Insider documents, emails, financial statements, all pertaining to their startup. But it's a series of emails that catch my attention, ones that discuss not just business but ethical decisions, community impact, their vision to change the landscape of their industry. This is impressive, I admit, looking up at her. But what are you trying to show me? It's not just the project, Jess. It's what it represents. We're building something that could really make a difference. And there's another reason why I kept it from you. She hesitates, taking a deep breath. I wanted it to be a surprise. Your name is on the patents as a co-inventor. What? I blink in disbelief. But I didn't contribute anything. You did, Sarah insists. Every late night discussion, every idea you joked about at dinner, it helped shape the project. I wanted to give you this to show how much you mean to me, how much I value your thoughts and dreams. Tears prickle at the edges of my eyes as I process her words. I don't know what to say. Say you'll forgive me for not telling you sooner, she pleads, reaching across the table. Just as I'm about to speak, the doorbell rings. Frustrated by the interruption, I go to answer it, my mind still racing. I open the door to find a delivery man with a large envelope. Jessica Hale? He asks. That's me, I reply, signing for the package. Returning to the kitchen, I tear it open. It's a letter from the investor in their startup. Not only confirming their funding but also praising the innovative approach and ethical backbone of the project. This came for us, I say, handing the letter to Sarah. Her eyes widen as she reads, a slow smile spreading across her face. So does this mean? She trails off, looking up at me. It means we have a lot to discuss, but yes, I forgive you, I say, and her relief is palpable. And there's something else, I continue, taking a deep breath. I want in, not just as a name on paper. I want to be involved for real this time. Her smile broadens, and she pulls me into a hug. Nothing would make me happier. As we sit back down, the documents and letters spread out before us, the future seems a little brighter. Betrayal turned to opportunity, lies turned to partnership. Our journey was just beginning, but this time, we would walk it together, step by step.